Hello folks, and welcome to another Richard Head Longbows video. This is day 2 of making some medieval arrows. If you're thinking, well, I missed day 1, well, I'll put it up on the cards up there and it'll be in the description box below. Go and check out the first part, otherwise this second part isn't going to make an awful lot of sense. You can tell it's day 2 because I've actually got a different haircut. More to the point, I just couldn't be bothered to do anything with it. I just woke up and this is how I look. So last time we had glued in our horn strips into our shafts. So we now need to take them out of the bench vise and see whether they've glued. So yeah, there they are. That's where we left them yesterday. So let's undo that and see how we get on. If I'm doing this with one hand, they should all crash to the floor. And no, they don't, because they're all stuck there. Let's give them a good yank. Whee! There we go. Excellent. Right, they've all glued up, as you can see. They're all dry. Now, those are the ones that I did with the araldite. I was mentioning, if you have watched the other video, that the araldite is sort of an opaque glue. And I've actually got these ones here that I did with the JB Weld, which is comes out sort of black when it dries. So we'll get these onto the bandsaw now, and we'll cut our slot into the end there, and we'll cut some of the rough off here, the edges. And in fact, these are so small, the excess that's coming out of here, I probably don't need to use a saw. I'll probably just use a file. Actually, I'll get these into the vise here and just use a rasp and get rid of some of that excess. Let's tighten this up into here. So all I'm doing is leaving the horn proud there, so I can use a rasp if I can find one. There we are. And I'm just going to go along with the actual direction of the arrow. Try not to go across, you may find you snap it off. So we're actually going along the length there. And using the file side, get rid of the glue. Okay, so we got that nice and smooth, rounded off, and we got rid of the excess glue. I'll just do the other side now, and obviously do all the other ones that I've got here, then we can move on to cutting our string groove. Okay, I know I look like a slightly weird Princess Leia, but on to the next stage. Help me, Obi-Wan, you're our only hope. As you can see here, I have done the finishing on that, so I've got that all nice and smooth now. I've got rid of the glue, and I've actually cut the end, so it makes it a little bit easier for me to see where we're going to cut the slot. I'm actually going to do this by eye. I'm going to go down probably about a centimetre, no more than that, and I've got a string ready, so I can actually test how much of this I need to take off to get it to actually fit the string. So I can actually test the groove that I'm making as I go. Okay, let's try our string on here. Okay, so that is just about starting to fit on the string. Any more than that, it's going to be too loose, because I'm actually obviously going to be finishing this with a bit of sandpaper and what have you to get rid of those rough edges. So I don't want this to slip on too easily at this stage. Okay, so let's go and shape this up now, get that looking a bit nicer, and as I say, round it off and get rid of those corners. Now to get rid of this here, the actual trough where the string is sitting here, the knot groove that we've made, obviously the string is going to be sitting right on those sharp corners. So I'm going to need to find a rasp, which is actually a rat tail rasp. Here we are. That's the rat tail rasp. It's just a very, very coarse, small round file essentially. In fact, there is a round file, so I can do some finishing off work with that one. That might be too large, so we're going to start with this one and see how we do. I'm just going to lay that on there. I'm just using the vice here to help me hold it. I'm not actually clamping it in, I'm just holding it on there and going carefully down the edge with that rasp, just taking a little bit of that edge off, as you can see there. Sorry if I can get that in the right place for you. There we are. So I've just taken that corner out, so obviously I'll do the other side the same. There we go, and then use a little bit of sandpaper and drop the shaft on the floor, because that's the way we roll. So I've got my sandpaper, and we're going to take a little bit more out of that area we just altered there with the rasp, and a little bit more there. There we are. So that's cleaned out that a bit better. So now I need to round these corners off, which I shall do with the file here. It's the other way around, it might help you see it better perhaps. There we are. Okay, so there we go. So I've rounded that off now, so that looks a lot better. I'll do a little bit more sanding on that to get rid of any more of those marks. And obviously if you're making a set of these for yourself, you can have the string that you're actually going to use from the bow that you're going to use to actually test this. But obviously these are for a customer that I'm making, so I'm having to do a little bit of guesswork. So I'm going to keep these relatively tight, so at least the person can get a bit of sandpaper in there and match them up to their string if they need to. If I take too much off, obviously that's a bit more difficult. I'll just get the scraper and get this roughness off the horn there. That should bring the colour out. There we are. So that's pretty much done as far as our shaft, our nocks and our knock insert is done. There isn't really anything else that we need to do to the shaft as such now. So the customer actually requested that these be varnished, so I shall be doing that. I shan't bore you with that because I'm sure you know how to varnish something. If you don't, well then you just use some varnish. Simple as that. I actually use a cloth to apply the varnish. Just get a little bit of some spare rag or cloth that you might have lying around, and you can just wipe it over with the cloth. It's a lot quicker and easier than trying to use a brush or anything like that. So yeah, there you go. The next stage after that, once I've done that, will be putting on the feathers. So join me in a little while and I'll be doing that.